The doctor said stage 3. My wife said, "I can't do this," and walked out. I thought she was scared. She wasn't scared. She had already transferred $12,000 from our account, already called a lawyer, already removed herself from my health insurance the week after my diagnosis.
Hey there, welcome to Revenge Uncovered with Nora, where we bring you unforgettable stories, shocking twists, and powerful real-life moments. If you love emotional and dramatic storytelling, you're in the right place. Subscribe and join the journey.
The doctor said the words clearly, but they still felt strange inside my ears. Stage 3 lymphoma. Aggressive, but treatable. I was sitting on that crinkly paper they put on exam tables. You know the kind. It makes noise every time you move, like the room itself is uncomfortable. I had been sitting perfectly still ever since the oncologist said those words and left to give us a moment alone. Elena was standing near the window. She hadn't touched me. She hadn't looked at me either. She just stared at the floor, like she was reading something written there. I waited for her to cross the room. I waited for her hand on my shoulder, her voice saying my name. Ryan. Just that. Just my name. That would have been enough. She didn't. She stood up straight, like a decision had been made. "I can't do this, Ryan." Her voice was flat. Not angry, not even sad, just flat. I didn't sign up for this. I told myself she was in shock. People say things in shock. I had read that somewhere. Grief does strange things to people. So does fear. She grabbed her purse from the chair. She walked out the door. She didn't come home that night. I came back from my first blood work appointment, and the house was too quiet. Not peaceful quiet, wrong quiet, the kind that tells you something is missing before your eyes can even confirm it. I walked to the bedroom first. Her closet door was open. Half her clothes were gone. The hangers were still there, swinging slightly from the breeze I'd brought in with me, but her dresses and shoes and the small suitcase she kept on the top shelf, all of it, gone. I stood in front of the hallway wall next. The wedding photo was gone, just a faint square outline on the paint where it used to hang, lighter than the rest of the wall. I found the note on the kitchen counter. It was written on a yellow sticky note in her neat handwriting. She always had neat handwriting. "I need space. I'm sorry." That was it. No explanation. No, "Call me." No, "I'll be back soon." My phone buzzed in my pocket while I was still standing there reading those 5 words over and over. A bank alert. I looked at the screen. $12,000. That was the amount transferred from our joint savings account. The memo said, "Temporary housing." I sat down at the kitchen table and read the notification 3 times. The nausea that had been sitting quietly in my stomach since yesterday's appointment got louder. The doctors had already told me what the next few months would look like: chemo, blood tests, fatigue. And now I was sitting in my kitchen watching our savings disappear. Nothing else. My thumb hovered over his profile. 2 weeks after my diagnosis, a courier knocked on the front door. He was young, maybe 20, and he handed me an envelope like it was nothing. Because to him, it was nothing, just another delivery. I signed for it and stood in the doorway to read the cover page. Legal separation, filed by Elena Mercer. The reason listed was irreconcilable emotional incompatibility. I read that phrase 3 times. Irreconcilable emotional incompatibility. It sounded like something designed to sound clinical instead of cruel. My hands were shaking, not from the chemo, not yet, but from the shock of seeing her name printed above the words as if this were a normal thing, a routine transaction. I set the papers on the counter next to where her note had been. Later that afternoon, I read through the full document. She wasn't just asking for separation. She was requesting the sale of the house. I called our insurance provider to confirm that my chemo coverage was active. It was the kind of call you make with one hand on your forehead, bracing yourself, hoping everything will be fine. It wasn't fine. The representative read from her screen in a voice that was trying to be neutral. The policy had been recently modified, she said. A secondary guarantor had been removed. I asked her to repeat that. Elena had removed herself as secondary guarantor on my health insurance policy. My out-of-pocket costs for treatment jumped dramatically, thousands of dollars more per session. I gripped the phone and did the math in my head and felt something close to panic try to climb up my chest. But then, the representative gave me a date. The change had been made the week after my diagnosis, not before, not years ago during some routine update. The week after she heard the doctor say stage 3. I hung up and sat down on the floor. Not on purpose, my legs just stopped working for a moment. I sat there on the kitchen tile and looked at the wall and started to understand that Elena's leaving was not a reaction to fear. It was a plan. The man's name was Dr. Adrian Velasquez. He was a physical therapist at a gym across town, the same gym Elena had joined 18 months ago, around the time she started staying late and coming home quieter. I found him by following the account that had posted the heart emoji under her photo. His page was semi-private, but not careful enough. There were tagged photos going back months, a restaurant I didn't recognize, a weekend trip she told me was a work retreat. I sat at my laptop for a long time, just scrolling back through time, watching two timelines merge. Then I noticed the dates. The earliest tagged photo of them together, smiling, side by side at some outdoor event, was dated 10 months. 10 months before my diagnosis. I pushed back from the desk and stared at the ceiling. My chest felt hollow. This wasn't a woman who panicked and ran when life got hard. This was a woman who had already been running. She didn't leave because of cancer. The timeline told me that much. I started going back through things. Dates, receipts, arguments. I remembered one fight from last spring. Elena had accused me of being distant, of not caring about us anymore. I had apologized because I thought she was right. Work had been stressful, I'd been tired, I'd accepted the blame easily because I trusted her read of our relationship. Now I looked at that argument differently. I thought about the late nights at the gym, the phone she always kept face down on the counter, the way she'd stopped asking about my day. I wasn't being distant. She was. The thought sat in my stomach like a stone. I walked to the home office, a small room we'd kept for bills and tax documents, and opened the filing cabinet. We'd always kept it organized, insurance papers, car documents, warranties. I flipped through the folders slowly, not sure what I was looking for. Then I found something that stopped me cold. Inside a folder labeled tax documents was a sealed envelope, still sealed. I turned it over in my hands. It was a receipt from a private DNA testing company, the kind you order online and mail back. The receipt showed that a kit had been purchased and returned for processing. The date on the receipt was 8 months ago. I had not ordered any DNA test 8 months ago. I hadn't ordered one ever. The kit was connected to our address, but the name listed for billing was Elena's. I stood very still in the middle of that room. Isla was 6 years old. She was our daughter. I had been in the delivery room. I had held her first. Her middle name, Grace, same as the chemo nurse, I thought absurdly, was my mother's name. I placed the receipt carefully back in the folder. Then I went online to find out how to order a copy of the results. Chemo hits you in waves. That's the best way I can describe it. Some hours are fine, even normal. Then a wave comes and you're underwater. I collapsed in the kitchen one evening about 3 weeks into treatment. My legs just gave out. I hit the floor and stayed there, not unconscious, just unable to move. The room tilted. I remember staring at the base of the refrigerator and thinking about how much dust collects under things when nobody looks. Before the evening, I had noticed a strange swelling in my neck and made a doctor's appointment, thinking it was nothing. Before any of that. Elena hadn't left because of cancer. She hadn't panicked and run from something frightening. The cancer had just accelerated a plan that was already in motion. When the diagnosis came, she had a reason to leave that sounded from the outside like fear rather than strategy. She had removed herself from the insurance the week after diagnosis. She had taken the money the same week. The lawyer had been contacted within days. She had been ready. I sat in Claire's office and felt something different from what I'd been feeling before. Not sadness, not even anger yet, just a clear, cold recognition of what had actually happened. "What else?" I asked. Claire set another page on the desk. "Financial records," she said. "Take a look at this." She pointed to a line near the top. The house had been refinanced 6 months ago. I had not known about the refinancing. I had not signed any paperwork. I had not sat with any mortgage officer. But my signature appeared on the documents. Claire explained it carefully. The notarization date on my signature conflicted with hospital admission records. On the day I was supposedly signing refinancing documents at a financial office across town, I had been admitted to St. Gabriel Medical Center for a pre-treatment consultation. I had a room assignment, a wristband, time-stamped records. I could not have been in 2 places at once. My signature had been forged. The words sat in the air of Claire's office like something solid. "What does that mean for the house?" I asked. "It means any financial agreements made under that refinancing are legally questionable," Claire said. "And it means her request to sell the house is based on documents that may not be valid." She closed the folder. "I'm filing a motion alleging financial misconduct." She said it the same way she said everything, steady, precise, like she was reading a weather report. But her eyes were sharp. Elena's social media changed after Claire filed the motion. She'd always posted frequently, restaurants, sunsets, that particular brand of carefully arranged contentment that people present to the world when something is wrong. But the posts slowed, then they got quieter, fewer captions, more distance in the smile. Adrian deleted the tagged photos. I only knew because Sasha, an old friend who still kept tabs on things, mentioned it to me in passing. I hadn't gone looking. Her friends started asking questions, according to someone who knew someone, that network of second-hand information that exists in every social circle. Someone had apparently mentioned the court filing. Something was out there now, moving through conversations. Adrian was harder to reach suddenly, less public. The court date was scheduled for 5 weeks out. I went to every chemo session in those 5 weeks. I ate when I could. I slept poorly. Mrs. Holloway brought soup twice. I started taking short walks around the block in the morning, just to move, just to remind my body that it was still here. Isla came for her scheduled weekend visits. I held everything together when she was there. She was 6. The world should still be simple when you are 6. The courtroom was smaller than I expected. Or maybe I just felt larger than usual, present in a way that chemo had been slowly dimming. Elena sat at the opposite table with her attorney. She was dressed carefully, professionally. She didn't look at me. Her attorney spoke first, presenting Elena's case. Emotional burnout, fear, the impossible weight of watching a spouse face a serious illness. It was framed with sympathy, and I could feel the room absorbing the narrative. Then Claire stood up. She introduced the DNA evidence calmly, in the way she introduced everything, without drama, without pausing for effect, just facts, in order. The room went quiet in a way rooms go quiet when something unexpected enters them. Elena's attorney objected. Claire responded. The judge listened. I kept my eyes on the front of the room. I did not look at Elena. At the end of the session, the judge leaned forward. "I'm requesting—" She opened it and looked at me over the top of the page. "Mr. Mercer," she said, "the scan shows no evidence of active disease. Remission." She kept talking. Follow-up schedules, monitoring plans, what to watch for, important information, all of it. I heard it. I would read the printed summary later and remember it. But in that moment, I was somewhere else. I sat in the parking lot afterward, in my car, the engine off. The afternoon light came through the windshield at a low angle the way it does in fall. I put my hands on the steering wheel, even though I wasn't driving anywhere. Then I cried. Not from fear, not from pain, from something releasing, like pressure that had been building for months finally finding a way out. I sat there for a long time. Then my phone rang. The screen showed Elena's name. I answered. She sounded different, quieter, not the practiced quietness of the separation papers or the text messages, something real underneath. She told me Adrian had left. The legal pressure and financial stress had undone what they had built. She didn't say it with self-pity. She said it plainly. She said she had made a mistake. I listened. I didn't interrupt. I let her talk. Then she said something I had not expected. I didn't leave because of cancer, she said. I need you to know that. I left because I was already gone. I had been gone for a long time, and I didn't know how to tell you. And then everything with Adrian and Isla and your diagnosis all came at once, and I made choices that were wrong. I stayed quiet for a moment. I know, I said finally. Do you hate me? I thought about it. A real answer, not a performed one. No, I said. I don't hate you. There was silence on the line. What happens now? She asked. I don't know, I said, but I'm going to be okay. I meant it, and that was enough for that day. I stand outside Isla's school on a Wednesday afternoon in November, waiting. The other parents are there, in coats, holding coffees, checking phones. I know a few of them by name now. We nod at each other. Normal things. I am thinner than I was a year ago. My hair is growing back slowly. There is a small scar on my hand from the IV line they used through so many months of treatment. I notice it sometimes, and I don't mind it anymore. The house is sold, the finances are separated, Claire's work is done, the forgery investigation concluded, the court records are sealed. Elena and I are not enemies, we are not friends. We are two people working out how to share the responsibility of a child we both love in different ways. It is awkward sometimes,